And we're live. Yeah, that's right. That's like the greatest intro in the world. I actually said I'd start in 2 minutes, but since Skog's not here, I can just start without him, I think. Is this going live? Yes, it is. Win! How is everyone today? I hope you're all fine. Hello, Vipersword, Neela, James. Can't pronounce that name, but moist. Yes. There's an odd trend with such streams I do. Every time I do them, I get very nervous just before I start. Hi, Buttercup. Yes. It makes it very hard, and it's like exam pressure, right? My head just goes blank. But thankfully I've got someone here to help me. Say hello, Skog.
Hello, Skog.
See, everyone does that with their name, and I like it. I like it. For those who don't know,
You said.
yeah. For those who don't know, Skog is a recent Sammich Wench alumni, which I really should put on a t-shirt. I keep getting told to do that, class of, and then just Sammich Wench or something. I like the sound of that anyway. Anyway, yes, the topic. It kind of is sexism in Warhammer, or just an excuse to talk about Warhammer. I do actually have some articles, but I'd say since, let's see, 2010, which is the earliest I could find. Well, latest, earliest? Which one is it? Whatever. Of references to how sexist Warhammer is. And Vipersword is probably the best because she's made 3. Everyone else needs to get good. Although Skog technically has made 2 now.
Got a 3rd and 4th one planned.
Mud.
Requires slightly more props.
Right. Yes. Anyway. Skog and I were talking briefly about this on Discord just before I remembered I was going to do this tonight. And I thought it'd be a great idea to... Wait, did you? You have to send it to me again. Talked about Warhammer and the sexism thing, because it keeps coming up, and as I mentioned, 2010 is the latest? Do you even English, bro? Where I could find references to this sexism. I'm not, and I'm going to disclaimer it, I'm not saying that there aren't some elements that aren't sexist. I'm sure there are interactions individuals have had, nice Victor, with people, and it could be considered or construed as sexist, sure. It is a very male-dominated environment, especially in the shops. And I've been going to those... I've been going to Games Workshop store since... oh god, when was I 14? How old was I then? What year was that? Oh, let's think. 2000.
What? 19? Yeah, about 1998 to 2000-ish, from what I remember of your age.
I'm 32, so it'd be 2000, I think. No, I'd be 20 then. Fucking hell, I'd be younger. That'd be 90s. No, because I was 10 in 1996.
You know how old you are, that's reassuring.
But counting is... It's hard, man.
I mean, I've been playing... Well, if I had continued playing more recently, I'd have been playing for 10 years.
10 years. Wow.
I've just not played in the last 2 years because all the people nearby are either massive bastards or just so irritating to play against.
See, that's...
Basically, it's gotten to the point where the meta has gone, okay, we need to use this formation and you win.
Yeah, this is where they've...
And you might win, it's just you win or you don't. And it's like, oh, that'll be fun to play.
When you play against people who are only interested in that kind of... they take the enjoyment out of the game. I'm not saying that losing is great, but if you only have one option and that's the only thing you do, it's kind of boring. And I don't like playing that much anyway. I used to go into the stores with a friend of mine, and she and I, for the longest time, we both played for a long time. But I hated playing. I was the painter, which most people, quite a few people now know, because of my competition stuff. Whereas she was a competitive player. If we played each other, it only ever ended one way. And it wasn't with me winning, unless I had the Emperor's champion on the field. Is there such thing as a 5,000 point army? Yeah, I believe it's the apocalypse rules crap.
I've played them that big. It works if you know what you're doing, and you play units that are sized for that size.
I'm a 500.
If you play regular units.
Yeah.
In that game, you're gonna.
It's a mess.
Ruin everyone's day.
I'm a 500 point to 2,000 point person. I like minimalist armies. So my very first, and I might pull up an image of something if I can find the right image. Ah, bugger, which one was it? No, I'm not going to bother yet. Okay, so the image that got me into all of this was I got this copy of okay, so in year 4 or 5, boy brought these Space Marines and Orcs into school, and I was mesmerised. He taught me how to play, and I was loving it. 3 years later, my dad came back into our lives, and he had heard that I'd taken an interest in this. So he found this. He was a dustman, and he found this rabbit hutch full of undead, like an actual just rabbit hutch full of skeletons, zombies, mummies, the original undead, including original von Carstein miniatures and everything. That was my first army. But the thing that got me into 40k was an issue of White Dwarf, and in it was a battle report between the Orcs and the Black Templars, with the original Emperor's Champion miniature, which just makes him look like he's holding a gigantic schlong. See if I can find the right image. I've got some article stuff, so give me a sec. Is it this one? Yes, this one. That, on the screen you see now, on the stream, is the original Emperor's Champion. And that miniature, I loved it. I'm glad they revamped it, because the origin story of the Black Sword, I like the leather gloves, they just look weird. But the origin of the sword is from Sigismund. He was Rogaldorn's second in command. He was called the Emperor's Champion during the Battle of Terra. And yeah, but he was impossible to defeat in single combat. In fact, he adopted certain techniques from the World Eaters. For example, his sword had a chain at the end that wrapped around his wrist. He got that from the World Eaters, to never drop your weapon. The dueling techniques, he adopted some from them, and when he died, he fought one-on-one with Abaddon, long after the heresy before the First Crusade. And Abaddon, as a mark of respect, even though he's a corrupt as fuck little bitch, engraved the writing you see on the sword. Because the sword didn't have the writing on it originally, but he put it there, which is pretty cool. But it's all
not such a bad guy.
Yeah, as a mark of respect, of course. Yeah. But of course, this is massively toxic and male and just wrong. Okay.
It's also the old canon, so that's probably been removed now.
I think I had an image of Sigismund. Do I have it? Nope, that's not it. Is that it? Yes, that's Sigismund on the stream now. People can see. He is the very first Emperor's Champion. I really want to get that miniature from the Horus Heresy character series of Forge World, because that is a beautiful looking Imperial Fist. But in keeping with the Imperial Fists, my first army being Black Templar second founding. After that though, because Black Templars then became mainstream, I moved away from that and went with Crimson Fist, the other second founding. Because I just didn't like all the extra gadgets. I was like, fuck all this shit. Sorry?
The third of the second founding.
Oh god, what founding are they on now?
I don't know, but the Soul Drinkers are one of the other second founding.
Yeah, they're also the people.
Basically the Black Templars, but less what's the word? Zealous and more.
Yeah.
Murdery.
Well, that's where the Crimson Fist and Black Templars. Crimson Fist are more level-headed, whereas the and yes, Sigismund was badass as fuck. Whereas the Black Templars were the most zealous, and Sigismund left on bad terms with Rogel Dawn. He stayed on Terra with Dawn out of fear. There was more to it than that, but Dawn did not take much kindness to that. But getting slightly off topic from this toxic environment, because we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? I'll see if I can I'll pull the tablet back up. Yep. Right. Don't drag that avatar image, for fuck's sake. Okay, so earlier when I was doing some research, Skog's volume needs to be raised, does it? He's just a quiet person, but I'll see if I can raise his volume.
I got a bit of a sore throat. I can probably boost it on my end.
I've done it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the best I can do is
if
what
I start
you hear.
talking louder, it sounds obnoxiously loud to me, but...
Sorry, guys, but I'm using Discord
I'm consistent.
Yeah. Congratulations. What if the Emperor had a podcast? Oh my god, yes. That is so much. Okay, so one of my favourite series, before I get into the sexist crap with the tablet on the screen and everything, if the Emperor had text-to-speech, that series, those videos are so funny. I love it so much. Oh my god. Just the Emperor... the Emperor crying or raging, and all the lights flashing and it raining in the room. Oh, beautiful. Right, so yes. When I was doing some research for this, because I wanted to talk about this, I bloody well knew my voice put people to sleep. I was looking at articles, old ones, because I think it's important to know where a lot of this is referenced from. And so the first thing I found was an original article debunking another article. But I wanted to... The Centurion was adorable. And I wanted to address the rebuttal to an original article because it references it, and then I'll go to that article. That makes sense. So I've linked in the description a whole bunch of articles. But this one here, Sexism in Warhammer 40k, Missing the War for the Boys. Okay? But underneath it is an updated editor's note, because the original was written January 18th, 2016. This was updated in 2017. In an effort to further commit to our editorial vision of quality content about nothing but games or the industry, we are leaving this note here to let you know that this article does not meet the standards of that vision as it exists today. This article may be poorly written, or it may be well written, but with charged political content which we have stepped away from. It's not the ideas we have a problem with, as we do not discourage any viewpoint. We are just moving away from this sort of content. This article no longer represents Tech Raptor's editorial vision today and into the future, the far, far future, where there is only war. In this article, he debunks every single point made in the article he references by the Mary Sue. Now, I don't know if the art writer of the Mary Sue article was serious, but it was quite amusing to read it, to listen to the excuses given for why Warhammer is sexist, and it came to that one talking point I brought up right at the end of our discussion on Discord earlier. That one question I asked you, that was the thing. It just seemed to be that was the only problem, and we'll get to it, of course. I'm not... It's charged political content. I can't tell, based on the date, if this is a reference to the fact that people for a while were using, and I'll have to find the image. I think I have it. Is that it, or is it the next one? Nope. Is it this one? Nope. What about this one? Oh, bugger, I don't even know where it is. There. God Emperor Trump. Yeah, I started to wonder if the reason they pulled or they didn't promote it or stand by it was because of the memes of the God Emperor himself. One of my favourite pictures, minus Trump's inclusion, of the Emperor. It's just such... His armour is... God Emperor. Yes. It's a glorious image. But I think I did put a few bits from this article. Did I? Oh yeah. It's just this. So this is where it's a real giveaway that the article, bow. Love it. I love the chat. With this, he talks about in the grim darkness of the future, there's only misogyny and manspreading and microaggressions. And whatever else crybabies like James McConaughey, who wrote the article for the Mary Sue that we're going to look at in a moment, want to throw in the hopes that something will stick, and whatever rainbow-haired, shrieking harridan calling herself feminist he's fixated on will finally deign to acknowledge his existence. For a brief moment before immediately berating him for having the temerity to be born male.
Fucking a white male.
He...
A white scar.
He, in this article, he addresses every single talking point, and it is worth, if anyone's interested. It's obviously from January 2016, but he's done a great job going through it. But I still want to, because the Mary Sue article is where a lot of the Facebook groups I've found that talk about this, talk about gender fluidity and genderqueer and non-binary in Warhammer 40,000. Although he has got
Dark Eldar done.
Basically, yes. Although he does, the James McConaughey then writes about the over-sexualization, so you just can't win. The guy did
like fetish elves.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you not fully in the know, Warhammer 40,000 is a tabletop wargame set in a completely over-the-top galaxy full of violence, hatred, blind zealotry, and pineapple on pizzas. I love that. Honestly,
shut it down.
The game is set in the never-ending year 40,000. Technically, in canon now, with the rebirth of Rabate Guilliman, technically it has gone past that.
I believe it's Robot Girly Man, but yes.
With the toilet seat for an icon. but technically, with the year 40,999, it's considered the time of ending. Hi Bear, and so the Emperor's sort of like, his chair's giving up because it's broken. Who'd have believed it? 10,000 years sat on a chair and it finally starts to break. Honestly. And when I say bad, I mean utterly terrifyingly horrible for everyone, everywhere. Humanity is stuck in another dark age where technology is worshipped as divine, a brutal and uncaring religious police state dominates all facets of life, and a panoply... I don't know that word. I feel very special. Panoply. I honestly felt special. Thank you.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I'd say Pantheon.
Pantheon makes that makes more sense, to be honest. Although I honestly, I see letters strung together. As long as there's a subtract between them all, it makes sense to me. Thank you, Ragnarok. I can't read the text on that. I'll have to give me a sec.
Give me a second. They hate 40k the most because it already has everything they're demanding. The problem is it doesn't conform to their definitions of a fucking universe.
Galaxy bastards. Fair enough.
Yeah, also Peta don't like them.
Yes, and we're going to get to that because I did have the thumbnail for that image. But I'm pretty sure now, in hindsight, after all these years, after this time, I think it was a troll, and a very good troll. But the Pantheon horrors await their chance to drown entire planets of blood. With the canon, and it's so important, it's so... Come on, I spent... And no word of a lie, I bought a limited edition book on one of the Primarchs, part of the Heresy series. The Horus Heresy series started in 2006 when I started uni. It could have cost me my first year because I was reading the first 4 books. Galaxy in Flames and Flight of the Eisenstein kept just... Flight of the Eisenstein. Eisenstein? Is it? Oh.
Eisenstein.
Yeah.
Eisenhorn is...
different. I've got that series as well, and that's also quite good. But in the Flight of the Eisenstein, it features Scar, he's a World Eater, Imhotep, a Thousand Sun. They find out their Primarchs have turned, and they, along with other loyalists, get to Terra. They turn tail and try and get there as quick as they can to warn people, showing, unswerving loyalty, even though they are bound. But anyway, I bought this book for Lorgar because it's fascinating. Because the canon it's so important, especially if you're one of those, if you do like to play it and, ooh, really, Nice, James. If you like with Lorgar, there's a Primarch miniature of him on Forge World, part of the Horus Heresy series, and it looks amazing. His armour is resplendent. Illuminarum, his hammer, looks great. But of course, he is a picture model of the fucking white male with all that misogyny. Misogynist prick. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the article from 2016, January 14th, 2016, from James McConaughey. This is the Mary Sue article, okay? Okay, also to address Lorgar, blame Corferon. He started it technically. In this book that I've got, it's called Bearer of the Word. It's more argued because of Corferon's desperation to retain his power and position, because he knew the Emperor was coming because of Lorgar's visions. You'd argue Corferon started it, but Erebus was the one that crossed the line first. It's quite the debate, but this book, I think, yeah. So, I'm going to read from this article for you. So, yeah. Hi, my name is Dickhead, and I love Warhammer. Warhammer, for those of you who aren't aware, is one of the longest running and most popular miniature games created and developed by Games Workshop and split into two settings. The fantasy version. Cry. Most of them. Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which we will talk about soon, I promise. Formerly Warhammer. Yes, and much like Dickhead, I'm actually upset about it as well. Age of Sigmar, oh dear. And Erebus is a bitch. And the sci-fi setting, Warhammer 40,000, or just 40k. Blah blah blah. What is the focus of the article, you ask? Right. Yes. Let's go to the actual points, because I think that's important. And I'm prone to dribbling on. Oh, there's a drawback to having a chat over it. Well, if you love something, you must be willing to criticise it and acknowledge its flaws, and while there are many flaws with Warhammer, the one we're here to examine today is gender representation of the grim darkness of the far future. This is 2016, by the way. But this article, as I said, gets brought up in quite a number of Facebook groups, and it wasn't so long ago that there was a reference to there was a Facebook group that was mentioning gender inequality, representation, and I do remember seeing a few streams on it, but I was too busy eating pizza to give a shit. So I thought, yeah, let's do it now. So before I go any further, did you used to go into Games Workshop stores at all? Or go on forums?
I did for a bit, but the person I was going with turned out to be a massive wanker, so I stopped going to that store.
Do you ever find going into those stores also... I mean, the one I used to go to a lot all the time...
creepy.
Yeah, I used to go into Norwich one all the time, and it was a small one, and they're very, very nice, personal, but I got my housemate a job there once, and it was... He said it was pure cancer, because the targets he was set, was kind of very difficult for him to get by. However, he got a 50% staff discount. So I made him buy me all the Tomb Kings.
Good.
Oh yeah. Nothing cooler than a scimitar. Or one of those massive hulking, whatever they're called, with a two-handed...
Bone giant?
Yeah, I think... No, shorter than that. That's it, Ushabti, thank you. They were cool. I did have a Sphinx thing as well that was quite beastie.
Oh, those came out just around the time I stopped playing them, because there was just... The new rulebook was so fucking big to try and get into, and you needed such a bigger army apparently to make it work.
Yeah, this is why...
Because I'd originally got by with having a Lich Priest and a Tomb Prince as my generals, because you need both.
Yeah. So this is where...
Then they changed that, so I was going to need to get so many more models, and I was like, fuck it.
Space Wolves, by the way, are beast. I have a box of Blood Claws right next to me. I'm not a Space Wolf person by and large, but my sister got them for me a couple of years ago, and I haven't got around to painting them, but I'm going to. because they're right there and they haven't been touched, and I want to touch all of them. Bestiality for the win. Or is it post-human eunuch sex? We'll get to that. Whenever I went in, it was always always felt like they were just interested in selling me stuff, and then very confirmed, fuck off. And then they're interested just get rid of you. They once, I almost got banned from a shop. Now, I've seen people be rude and abusive, nothing. And I've seen people say, but you're just a girl. I've seen that. And the girl has then just dismissed them really easily. But I had the, I'll use the word earlier, reference temerity, to bring in my own glue, poly-cement with a needle on the end. To which...
Good stuff, yeah. Rebel.
They just brought in their glue, their sticky, stringy, the stuff that Peter Parker shoots out of his wrist kind of glue.
Oh no.
And I pulled out mine, and they're like, so you can't use it here anymore. Why? Because we don't know what's in it. Okay. Well, I've got a master's degree in chemistry. Would you like me to tell you? And then they said, we'll have to...
They took exception to that.
I can't imagine why. I really can't. I was just being nice, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. But over the years, because I've been to, as I said, I paint. But I've been in a lot, I've rarely seen any instances of sexism. And as I mentioned earlier, one of my closest friends is female, and she plays. And whenever she went in, because we both loved the canon, we talk at great lengths about that, or playing styles. Her biggest gripe with the newer rules is that you really do have only one formation for each army. There's no skill in it. It feels like Dawn of War 3. Just mash out as many units as you can, and you'll be fine.
I mean, with some armies, that is their shtick. I know before I basically stopped playing when I got my job, because it's that thing of I can now afford to buy all these miniatures, but I have to work during the times that the club is on that I actually like to go to.
Yeah.
So, but no, I've been reading a lot of the Bernard Cornwell, is it Cornwall, the Richard Sharp books.
Yeah.
So I've been trying out with my Imperial Guard and my Necrons various different military tactics, like on the grand scale things. So at one point I tried a Necron line that worked quite nicely.
Yeah. Because
you just have warriors, because that's all you need. And you just throw like 120 of them onto your opponents, and they don't have a target priority, so they just piecemeal you.
Yes.
And this is before they fucked the codex up.
Oh God, don't. Honestly.
But yeah, you could have it could go either way as to who would win. But most of the time, I'd get a fairly high advantage early on just for smashing my entire army across their lines.
Yeah.
Because people don't know how to deal with that. And the other one I tried, which also worked quite well, is the French tactic of you strike in column.
Oh, really?
Which also works with Tyranids and Guardsmen. Although the Guardsman, it works much more hilariously when you do it with 10 Lehman Russ.
My tactics, because obviously I'm a small army person, my tactic was simpler. It was either stay in units and spread the units out, so I covered lots of space, but I had enough room with range to provide support, or to hold a position and try my luck. Another game I really enjoyed, I did actually play this one though, and I wish they did this more often, because this, if you want to get new people involved in the hobby, this isn't a bad way to start. It's called Path to Glory. You basically started... It's not a real game. It was introduced in a White Dwarf a few years, a long time ago. Started out with Chaos Champion, and you had all these rules for dice rolls, and you rolled the dice, and you had points, and what you got was your original warband. You'd then go and fight people in scenarios, and you'd build it. Which meant you didn't have to paint units at a time, you paint individual units. But at the end of the battles, you determined whether or not your players were injured or dead, and if they were injured, what kind of injury, how severe the injury, and if they won, what kind of reward they got.
I did sketch out a set of rules for that just before Games Workshop did their own with the I can't remember the name of the book. It was one of their better add-on books. It had like all the city fight, all the ticks-based ones, like the ambush missions.
Yeah.
A lot of them rely heavily on you owning a lot of terrain.
I really wanted, and I still want to do one, a Nurgle warband. I've got something about, I had bought, well, before they redid Nurgle with Age of Sigmar, I bought a Nurgle champion. I cut off the horn on the helmet that was slapped onto his face. Painted him, it looks brilliant. They got a new Blight Lord though. It's about 15, 16 quid. I really want to get that. Because it looks, he's got maggots coming out of his stomach. It just looks so, and the shield with the fly on it. Oh, it looks awesome.
Full Nurgle.
Yeah, he's full Nurgle. Yeah, because they're finally doing it.
I was tempted by Nurgle, but I just didn't want to have to paint that. Like, the same reason I didn't actually collect orcs.
I'll have to,
I'd have loved to have done orcs, but just, too much painting.
I'll quickly go onto another website for a second and try and find an image that I painted of a Nurgle champion a long time ago. But it will take me a while to find it, so do give me a do bear with me.
Yeah.
But Nurgle, like,
I can attempt to mumble at the chat.
Well, no, my friends always thought that I was more of a Khorne person. Khorne are fantastic for getting into combat, but I always found Nurgle to be more appealing because they at least stood more of a chance of withstanding a few blows.
I did have a few Plague Marines.
They've redone the Plague Marines.
So you can just sit there and go.
Not just that. Not just that though. They've also, Games Workshop have brought out Mortarion, the Primarch. Yeah. But his miniature full-on demon looks okay. I prefer the pre-heresy part of the Horus Heresy character series miniature, because obviously he's not a demon yet. His armor looks great, and his Reaper, his scythe, called Silence, looks beautiful. And I'm really waiting. No. I'm waiting for them to do either Alpharius or Omegon as a Primarch, because they've released so far, I think about half the Primarch so far, full-on Horus Heresy character series miniatures. But they're quite expensive, and I really want to get one. But part of me wants to hold out, see if they do Alpharius or Omegon, because then I'd paint that definitely.
But we are all Alpharius.
We are. We
so
are.
Is my wife.
We all are, of course. Your fictitious wife. The story of Alpharius is brilliant, because he transferred his consciousness at one point to someone else. Dawn technically killed him, but it's still debatable because it's in the canon now. And they never actually turned chaos. It's just brilliant.
It's the traitors and renegades.
Yeah.
Who get around the issue of the ones that are grey areas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're clearly not in the Imperial faith, therefore they're renegades.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of things where it seems like the Alpha Legion were on the side of the Empire.
Okay, so
to the side of chaos.
In the book Legion, the 7th book in the Heresy series, this is when you meet the Alpha Legion, and they are introduced to this little group of aliens from other races who show Alpharius the future. And if Horus won, humanity would die within 10,000 years, and the galaxy would live. But if Horus died and the Emperor won, the galaxy would die a slow, painful death, and chaos would win. So Alpharius made the decision to fight for Horus to win. But not siding with chaos, simply because what Horus had done would finally eat at him, and then it would, and then it would all go tits up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, thank you. A few centuries, you're quite right. But the galaxy, yes, you're right. But the galaxy would then be free of chaos, I think, because the eyes kind of, yeah. I'm kind of liking this how, and you mentioned how messed up 40k is in the chat there, I noticed. It is, and that's what's so good, because the canon is so in-depth, and there's so much to it. There are so many stories.
It used to be very interweaving, and certain people got their hands on the Matt Ward.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
I miss the Necrons. They're now the Necron tier again.
I miss the Necrons because the Necrons were badass. I told you as well, I like pariahs. I want pariahs.
They had so much plot that you could read into it any way you like, but it essentially said that the Necrons were the reason the Eldar were created, along with the Orcs.
And the Orcs, yes.
And the Eldar lost. The Eldar lost so badly that they created a new Chaos God when they got bored and started just fucking everything that moved.
Oh, yeah.
The things that didn't move.
Yeah.
And then the other things that used to move but don't move anymore.
The original canon, wasn't it? The old ones refused to help the Necrons because of something. Yeah. And then the Necrons lashed out, and then the Eldar...
just fucked them.
Yeah. The old ones have disappeared. I don't know if they're dead or not.
The old ones are... I think they're basically somewhat incorporeal, and they're very frail themselves. They're massively powerful psychers.
Well, there's the Outsider as well, let's not forget. The kind of beta of betas, the Outsider.
The Outsider is the fun one, because in the plot it's written that basically the Outsider is the hive mind of the Tyranids.
Yep.
Which ties in with the fact the Tyranids had never attacked a Necron world. And there's two reasons for that. One is Necrons aren't alive. You're not going to get any biomass from them. Just a waste of time to conquer the planet for no gain.
Yep.
The other side of that is, if they are in cahoots, then obviously you're not going to attack your allies.
No, you're quite right.
I was very much looking forwards to sort of, if it got 40k end times, where what's it called? The dragon is released from Mars.
Oh God, what's he called? Silver Dragon, isn't he?
The Void Dragon.
Void Dragon, thank you. Yeah, I love the story where you find out a bit more about that, because there's a book on Mars in a chamber where he is kept of sorts, where the laws of physics and the way you see things don't quite match up. And this girl and her protector go all the way there to take over the mantle of someone else, which they didn't know they would be doing, or the girl didn't know she'd be doing. And she becomes this watcher over him for the next 10,000 years. But someone stole the book that I think was related to him, that dragon.
Void Dragon.
Yeah.
So I know there is... I know, again, there's a lot of the very deep hints in the books that aren't always very obvious, and I've had some people go, nah, that's bullshit.
Yep.
That things like the Void Dragon is the Omnissiah, and the whole Mechanicum is in fact a heretical cult within the Empire, because they are worshipping a Necron deity, because...
Well, the Emperor knows this. The Emperor knows this.
Yeah.
Because he put him there.
Yeah.
He knows that their whole thing is built on a lie.
Yeah, but the thing is, they don't... The Emperor... while the Emperor's alive, that doesn't matter. Because the Emperor is now, for want of a better word, dead, and is puppeted by his councils, essentially. Certainly all of that comes into play of, you can't do those things, because that's heresy.
Yeah, so okay, it's important you brought this up, because I'm going to pull the tab up again and see if I can find the correct image. Here it is. Okay, so there is something called... Where's the chat going? Oh yeah, the Thermian argument. This is referenced in that Mary Sue article. Okay, and we're talking about canon and context, because it's so important. The Thermian argument, so themed by its creator Dan Olson, dickhead, is an invention to shut down people who use in context defenses to, in his words, shut down critics of fictional works. This is a way of saying, okay, you've got this fantastically immersive and diverse content, and I'm now going to bring up that point that I held off on, but because Space Marines are all men, and is pretty much the only one that is all men, yeah, That's a male-dominated space. That's misogyny, and all the canon around it. Fuck off. Just rewrite it. Make a female Primarch. Let's have some women in there as well. Even though, and I'll let you say it.
So let's aspire to being eunuchs.
Yeah, let's just forget that and although it's a debatable, it's certainly one hell of a discussion. Let's not forget here the Adeptus Sororitas exist, which I still love the original story of. And Cenk, if he's the Emperor, fuck, we're dead. I think with people who use this Thermian argument, and I take a real issue with it because it's their way of saying you put all this time and effort into creating something that gets people interested in not just playing the game but the story they're trying to tell if they want to at all. But now we want equal representation in something which, and I'm not trying to be rude here, there are not many girls who play this. And yes, there are already armies that exist that are, yeah, Lehman Russ is trans, man. I want that. I want his Primarch miniatures. He'd look great in a dress. Sparkle. But I think with like, you got the Sister Battle, Eldar, Banshees especially, Jane Zarv, fuck me, she's powerful.
Shadow Sun.
Lilith Hesperax of the Dark Eldar, she is a savage. Hell, there are some Chaos champions that are female. If you go to Warhammer, what's her name? The Valkyrie. Valkyria? Yes, Valkyria. She's a Khorne champion. She is brutal, way worse than Hargroth. Honestly, she's a monster. But because you've got Space Marines that are thought of as all male, that's the argument. Although I would say the Primarchs, they're not. They are male. They're not eunuchs. Escher, I have. Okay, so to mention here about House Escher. I've got an old Escher model with the pistol blaster in one hand and a shotgun in the other. I've got that miniature still, and she's badass. But there are also, and we talked about it again on Discord, Imperial Guard. If you buy, and I mention these because it's my favourite trilogy, you buy the box set of the Last Chances. There are female figurines. And also, are they really? That's kind of weird. I know a lot of girls who don't like bugs. Kind of weird, ironic, I guess.
I've seen some painted pretty colours.
Yeah. In the Last Chances, pretty colours.
Hello Kitty dreadnoughts.
Can you imagine that? Hello Kitty Carnifex. What's that? A hive tyrant? No. That's a unicorn.
That sounds exactly what my one of my former lady friends would have built. She'd have been like, so I can model this however I like. Yes. Cool, I'm gonna do this.
Oh dear.
Fuck your like system of normal stuff. I'm gonna make this Carnifex bright pink and have sparkles on it while it destroys your tanks because the stat line is exactly the same.
Yep. I love that so much. I just if someone, by the way, did paint a Tyranid with Hello Kitty on, honestly, I would high five them. I think that's beautiful. It doesn't matter. It's down. I don't really mind how you choose to paint it. It's your army. It's your choice, and that's fine. No, people are going to be like, "That's impressive," but it's still a male-dominated environment. You're going to try and get girls interested in tabletop war games, but at the same time, you're going to completely ignore that they've managed to create a beautiful. Why are there no women's on this stream? Because I couldn't get my friend who does know Warhammer on. She's kind of asleep. And Skog is a token whammon because Skog is a Sammich wench.
Right, incoming stuff to your shit posting channel.
Oh wait, have you found one?
Oh, what?
Don't tell me you found one. Oh my god, that is a. Okay, I'll see if I pull it up on the stream. Hang on.
There's more.
I'll take the first one.
The links weren't opening properly, but there's a few in here. Yeah, this does seem like something my lady friend would have made.
Have you put it in shit posting yet?
I'm finding more and posting them as I find them.
Okay, the one is that the one that you just done Hello Tyranids on, yeah? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Right, I will now download it, and I will show everyone on the stream because I feel a bit bad that we're not talking enough. Right. Ah, dear, oh dear.
There's so many good things.
Okay, in a second you're about to see the most clearly painted by girl Tyranids in the world. And this is not a prepared image, which bugs me because it wouldn't have already been pre-scaled. Not that one.
There you go. Enjoy your brief chat spam. I am helping.
I'll put this there. Okay, so people can, if anyone can see it, they are the Tyranids have bows on their heads. They have pink and purple bows on their heads. Oh my god, that actually kills me. It's interesting, you know, as far as like feminine goes, because the whole femininity argument kind of goes out of the water when if you ever did paint them, the original. I'm getting rid of that image now. If you ever painted the original Emperor's Children, because they are pink.
Yep.
The argument doesn't actually hold, because there were some legions that had quite feminine appearances, and like the Emperor's Children, the best example, they strove for perfection.
Like the Ultramarines.
You mean those toilets? Yes, those blue Smurfs. Bring back the pink bugs. You have to pay me. Arch 1. Okay, so I only recently know who that was because Skog told me, because I didn't know who that was. Although I would love to talk to him sometime. I'll have to reach out at some point, because from what I've heard, this guy knows what he's talking about. And that's awesome.
It's called Arch Warhammer for a start.
$2 donation from Ragnarok. Not bows, those be brain controlled parasites, 40k logic. Yes. Thank you, Ragnarok.
They are the brain control parasite.
Yeah. Oh dear, the cancer is very real. So, with the sexism thing, because I could bring the article back up again. Oh, bloody hell, that was delayed. If I pull the tablet up again, because there was more to the article, and I kind of wanted to... if you want to criticise it, no, not that one. Here we go. They have 6 different. Okay, so this is something he wrote. They have 6 different armies. Okay, you ready for this? Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines. That's 2 different armies. Space Wolves, Grey Knights, Dark Angels, and Blood Angels. Is he not missing quite a lot of armies here?
Is this the Space Marine based armies?
Yes, he is, but he's missing a lot of them.
Yes, but at least it's, you know. What was that list again? Let's see, it's on the screen. So you've got Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines. Those are big generalizations.
Yeah.
Space Wolves, Grey Knights aren't strictly Space Marines.
They're not.
Dark Angels are.
Blood
Angels are.
Yeah.
See, at the time that was written, those were the only other codexes.
Black Templars were as well.
No, at that point, when this article was written, Black Templars didn't have a codex anymore.
But they had to. Oh, they took it out. Oh
yeah,
my!
They took it out, then they put it back in again.
Why?
Because they hate you.
I didn't. Okay, this tells me a lot because I stopped paying attention to codexes after like the 5th edition. I got so pissed off with it, I was done.
Yeah.
4th edition for me was 4 was okay. I was okay with that. Grey Knights again, massively. Yeah, okay, I would love to get my hands on some of the custodian models because they do look nice, and I'm glad they have introduced them, but the fact they've done it so late into the millennia with Roberto Guilliman, you know, so they're now leaving to go do little bits with him, and now they're kind of not. Kind of seems like, what are you fucking doing? You make the Grey Knights look like bitches. And the Grey Knights, when they first came out, that was exciting. And then when they redid them, right, I went into the store one day and I was like, they're painting these Dread Knights that look like they've been taken out of the Matrix. And I was like, I've just looked at the rules for these Dread Knights. If I put 2 of these on a field with Abaddon, I could beat him in 3 moves.
Yeah.
Don't think they're a bit OP, do you?
A tactic that myself, primarily someone I knew, but I adopted it because it worked very nicely, is the Storm Raven gunship, I believe it is.
Yep.
The little chibi Thunderhawk, basically. They can go inside those or underneath them because they're classed as a dreadnought for transport purposes.
Really?
So you can airdrop one of those in on the first turn.
Oh dear God!
Because they're a vehicle, they can. I believe that. I think they're an assault vehicle. You can charge and attack, or at least you could in one of the sets of rules, on the turn you drop in. So in the first round, you can throw a dreadnought into your enemy ranks and just watch them get raped.
See, that's too. Oh dear. I remember when they first, as I mentioned, I went into the Norwich store when I first saw those. I just thought it was stupid. I'm sorry, but
I'm not saying it's not stupid. But...
The Emperor was right. The Centurion is way more adorable. Okay. Let's take. Before he found out the Centurion was Rogel Dawn. I'm still not sure how he survived that and only had both of his hands. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned.
He lost his hand.
Yeah. He's always been argued he was killed in the First Black Crusade. Someone in the chat's mentioned Black Templars are part of the main Space Marine Codex. They were originally as well, in fact, along with some special characters. The Emperor's Champion being one. Another character was the Crimson Fist Alessio Cortez, who I still to this day never got a miniature of, and I really want it. Honestly, I wanted Cortez's miniature so much. And I wish that they hadn't taken him out, because basically, and they can try and paint this any way they like, they essentially took the invulnerable element of Cortez and applied it to Valten in Warhammer, and then Cortez disappeared to make it seem like Valten was like this, the only character could ever keep getting up.
Apart from the Necrons.
Yeah, the Necrons. They just don't know how to die.
They're just bullshit. It's like, yeah, and they're good. Fuck off.
Those flayers, man. Those flayers. Oh, I loved those.
You know what's fun? Get a unit of the Scarabs.
Oh, yeah,
and
Scarab
just throw them
swarms.
at your enemy ranks.
Scarab swarms. Oh.
They don't even need to attack. They just have so many hit points you can tie the unit down for a turn at least. Then just watch as your opponent goes, but what? As on the next round, all of your warriors descend on them at rapid fire range.
Yeah. Necrons, they're beautiful.
But they're not the Necrons anymore, so, you know, fuck the fans, I guess.
Omegon Crusader Land Raiders, a 3rd edition. Templar Codex is over a decade old. Yeah. This says a lot about how much I pay attention. I read canon, but the codexes, oh, fuck off with all that. I can't afford them.
I think the codexes are free online now or something, but
Are they really?
Yeah, but they're like digital copies. It's like, I can't be bothered to have to carry my tablet as well as all the miniatures. I mean, it's not that much extra by comparison, but how you carry an army and how you carry a tablet are very different things.
So, in the chat, so am I hearing right, the Necrontyr are back?
Sadly.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Skog on this.
That bred to extinction by them willingly throwing away their mortal forms like Cybermen.
Yeah.
Become the Ubermensch.
But then to change that,
finding out that they had no free will, and the ones that did either went mad or were subservient to the Satan.
Yeah, or
Catan or Kaitan.
Or or the Deceiver and the Nightbringer, but the Deceiver mostly.
Or the Star Gods.
The Star Gods. But now they've changed it so the Satan are shards. I've got the Nightbringer, Deceiver, sorry, next to me, and I'm like, you're not a shard, man. You're special, okay? Yeah, you mentioned here
great little stories for the Deceiver.
Mr. Mortal, you've mentioned absolutely hit the nail on the head. With the lore in Warhammer, they did it as well. When I mentioned Storm of Chaos campaign back in 2003, when Grimgor won, the fans wanted him to win. It's like the Marvel DC thing. The fans chose Superman to knock Hulk out. Okay, whether they wanted it or not, that's what the fans wanted. But in Warhammer, the Games Workshop people, they did not want that ending. They wanted the world to end. But the fans chose it. So 10 years later, what did they do? They brought about the end times, brought out a book, and forced it upon everyone. Basically, meaning anyone had an army, they were like, and I know a lot of people have said this, I've got to start a new army, haven't I? Which is basically, okay. He didn't kick him. He didn't kick him in the nuts. He hit him with the butt of his axe, broke his shield, held him up, nutted him, and then said, "Grimgor is the best," and walked off. Like that.
That's pretty.
He basically walked through everyone, right? Valten was on the floor. He'd been hit. Let's see what happened. Okay, so Valten and Archeon were fighting, and it was pretty intense. Valten's chest armor, the Gromril armor that was meant for Sigmar, got cracked open. Archeon saw the twin-tailed comet, stopped. Luthor hit him with his hammer. He got swatted like a fly. Valten and Archeon engaged again. Archeon basically got the upper hand. Turned around, Grimgor was there. Smash, smash, smash. I'm the best. Fucked off for a pint. That's what happened. Grimgor. I love Grimgor, and I hate the fact that what they did for him in the end times, Archeon just mullered him, cut his head off.
Is Grimgor an orc or a dwarf? I'm not that well on the Warhammer canon.
Orc. He's the best orc as well. Well, he was. He was the bestest of orc.
Warhammer Gazgul Fraka.
What?
No, Gazgul Mag Uruk Fraka.
I would say yes, but he didn't have any modifications. He was just pure orc.
Not got the shiny bits then.
Yeah, no. He just has a nice axe.
I like that if an orc paints itself red, it can run faster.
Wouldn't it be great if it said...
Orcs have a very odd way of psychic abilities in that they just believe things, so they happen.
I like the idea, right, that if they hadn't done that, they probably would have settled with go fast stripes. Yeah, that makes the orcs go faster.
There's one of those sketchy bits of canon in the Soul Drinkers books that the Necron tier stuff has machine spirits, but they're not machine spirits as the Mechanicus know them, or at least as the Tech Marines know them.
Yeah.
Which sort of does fit with the whole, the Mechanicus worship the Void Dragon. But on the other hand, it's like, stop trying to make everything the same.
Yeah.
But, there's one really cool thing in one of the books. In fact, no, it's in the Codex. There's a little extract of like a team going in to search a Space Hulk that's, I think it's not a Space Hulk, it's a derelict, and they're trying to find out why it's a derelict. And they find this like weird, like slightly glowing cube in one of the holds.
Right.
And they're like, okay. For some reason, they decide to attach a power conduit to it for whatever reason, and it starts growing. Glowing, and then eventually it is presumably turning the matter around it into a monolith, at which point it is complete, the portal comes online, and then flayed ones walk out of it and murder everyone on the ship.
See, that is so cool. That is such a cool story. But what we need to do now,
extract in the side of the book.
But what we really need is that Thermian crap to tell us that this is bullshit, and what we need are female Necrons. Which, in the very Sue article, right, it goes through and talks about each race in turn. So it does agree that Necrons are essentially genderless. He agrees that the Tyranids are, although that is dependent, I guess, on how some argue with the canon about whether or not there are breeding elements to it. He agrees that orcs are grown from spores. Yeah. Eldar do have females, but, Banshees aren't good. The Banshees are badass as fuck.
Yep.
Okay, Banshees, if you play the video games like Retribution, Dawn of War 2, kick-ass. You have
the intro for that game, one of the best game trailers.
What, Dawn of War 3 or Dawn of War 2?
Dawn of War 2, with their unit walking through the woods, and they're going, we're expecting a trap.
Oh no!
And then you just have no, it's not the Hanna Banshees, it's the warp spiders jumping around and just taking
Yeah.
out everyone one by one, with the Devastator just hosing down the nearby terrain.
There's in
I miss all that.
the Dawn of War
That used to make
3
the game-
trailer had an elf, a Dark Eldar, say, and in this voice it was beautiful. It was like, "In darkness I shall be light. In times of doubt I shall keep faith. In throes of rage I shall hone my craft. In vengeance I shall have no mercy." And when this is playing, you've got the biggest Eldar Titan. Oh, I don't know what they're called because I've never actually used them, but they're fighting. Yeah, they're fighting. They're fighting the Imperium's version, the Warhounds, essentially. Those Titans, and it's such a great trailer because the Banshees look badass as fuck. The Orcs are going at it. The Space Marines are having a crack. But the game's a massive disappointment. Okay. Okay, so Ragnar again donated. Thank you. Lolways hoped the end time would finish with the Emperor's arrival, but they killed that idea several different ways and made sure they can't cross the verses. Yeah, there are a number of people who argue this about trying to connect those together, and I think I kind of, yeah, I miss. You know what I miss? I do want to touch on the sexism again. I think again in a moment. I miss more time.
Oh, I've never played it, but I've seen the rules for it and gone,
If we ever have a chance to hang out, we should play it.
Yeah, I can bring half a dozen figures. We'll just need an area about 8 feet across to put them all in.
I will gladly. I can just put together a little Chaos warband. It's all good. I'm up for that. Always down. Oh, Belakor. Oh my god.
And work out what's relevant.
Okay, Belakor, the first. Right, and I've got the Liber Chaotica, the original Chaos book made. Okay, it's bound in chains. It's so cool, and it talks about his story and how he had to crown Archaon when he became the Ever-Chosen, and how much he hated doing that, by the way. But his involvement in the Swords of Chaos campaign, was it called that? Yeah, was amazing. But what about his involvement in the End Times? Yeah. Fuck. But now back to the yeah, he is actually the first demon prince in both universes. You're quite right. Yes. But with the sexism thing, he talks about the Orders, the Adeptus Sororitas, who in old lore were connected to the Orders Hereticus. Yeah. Because you had the Orders Malleus, which is the demon hunters, Hereticus, heretic, and then you had the Xenos, which were the Death Watch, essentially.
Not suffer the alien to live, yes.
Death Watch were cool. Pretty badass.
I've played some Death Watch.
Yeah, Death Watch.
I've got the RPG book for it, but I've never had enough people together
who
were willing to RP it.
Yeah,
because my sister said she played it once, and everyone got really annoyed when because they were playing Death Watch.
Yeah.
I can't remember which specific type of Space Marine. They're like, okay, we've got this Eldar prisoner. Okay. We should try and interrogate her. At which point my sister's character just shot it through the face with a bolt pistol. Do not suffer the alien to live.
Yeah.
Like,
by the way,
we could have tortured it for information.
Just because of how knowledgeable he is, Mr. Mortal, I've officially made you a moderator for this. You're welcome. Because actually, he is right. Belakor is linked in both universes, but he was kind of cucked in the End Times. Just saying. But just because this article, and as I said, it keeps getting referenced, I just want to touch on it. They talk about how the canon isn't relevant. Let's say that's true. Tell me now why it's so important when so many other races exist that are way cooler than Space Marine. Let's face it. No offense, I love Space Marines. They are. I love Space Marines. I paint them because I've got two. Two. Yes, but they are boring, and there are other races with females in. So what's the problem? Honestly, why is it so important to have a post-human female when, as we've already discussed, they're post-human? They're not they're technically not really male.
I mean, you could if they had the gene science available to them, they could probably do it with a Labrador to turn them into a Space Marine. But
well, okay, so as I mentioned, okay, so you can't use the Thermian argument crap, but I'm going to, because as I told you earlier, I talked to you a lot on Discord. The Emperor had joked with Malcador about creating, hello Jason Brazil, about creating a female Primarch. But he didn't set on it because he couldn't. He could not do it. I would assume the added complications of, although actually that does raise an interesting question. Okay, so he was able to make 20 sons. Technically 21. Don't know how he managed to make twins. And I'm not entirely, because each Primarch was supposed to represent a part of him. So what the fuck was Alfarius and Omegon? Other than the absolute deception.
It was innate schizophrenia.
Yeah. I remember, yeah. Okay, yes. And that is quite right. Harder, cost more resources, basically give you a lesser warrior out at the end. And, well, thank you for telling me that Sargon and Arch did a stream on it and it was good, because I just like to know that mine sucks. Just saying. I loved the I loved any interaction with between Malcador and Rogaldorn. It was always quite funny. Just saying. The way Dawn just does, he's just so robotic. But can you imagine if there was let's say that there was a female Primarch. Let's say there was. Now what? Are all the female Space Marines going to be female?
They would have to be if they're their progenitor.
That actually would explain a lot with Vulcan, because he's black. Yeah.
He's not like, ethnically black. He is just jet black, melanin and overdose.
Because he and the red eyes, wow. But he has he got the ability. He's perpetual. Do you know what that is?
I've not looked into enough.
Okay, so perpetual is someone that can be killed repeatedly, but will keep getting up. He doesn't technically die. In the canon,
so a bit like...
in the canon, Conrad Kurz kidnaps him after the Battle of Isfahan, and he kills him hundreds of times, every which way he could do, but it did not break Vulcan. Yeah, except with Lucius, he'd be reborn in the person that took pleasure or felt pleasure from killing him. Or
it's just the person that killed them.
But with Vulcan, he kept getting up. There was a moment where he was going to die. But I think John Grammaticus gave up. Put a Fulgurite stabbed Vulcan in the middle of the chest with it, and after a sacrifice, he was reborn. It was quite cool. It's quite a cool. It was quite a cool arc. And yeah, if the two... Okay, so I really wish that they'd do this at some point, because they go into so much with heresy, and they're getting to the point where I think they're going to get very close to the Battle of Terra itself, which is going to be either a massive letdown or epic as fuck. Let's face it. There's so much...
They've not got...
Sorry, go on.
Just hoping they've got... Well, I'm assuming, as with a lot of the other ones, they're going to have writers doing it from lots of different angles.
Like, have some at the Eternity Gate, some at the spaceport, some on Horus's ship, some with Emperor as well.
Have the Chaos Point and all that lot. That a bit like if George R. R. Martin wrote it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There is no winner. Only that winter is coming.
I'd like the idea of two separate books running, released at the same time, but from both perspectives, as an ongoing thing. But to address the two Primarchs that are unknown, because in the books it is mentioned, because Magnus, or was it Lorgar? I think Lorgar wanted to talk about it, but he swore an oath not to. And I kind of wish they could. Because if I remember correctly, didn't Russ have to kill one of them?
I'm not too certain. I know there's some people think that maybe the Legion of the Damned has something to do with it.
Well, don't they...
Ghost Marine. Basically, they just pop out of the warp, fuck shit up. In the name of the Emperor.
Yeah, but the more power they use, the more they degrade. Tells you either something wrong with their gene seed or they're cursed.
Okay, the one thing that sounds like, though, is the Thousand Suns.
Oh, yeah, that does, yes. Yeah, Thousand Suns got a little bit of a revamp recently as well with the Games Workshop. desperation to make money off it.
Thousand Sons plot, I'm gonna be annoyed.
Mm.
Because the Thousand Sons, they are suits of animated armor. If the armor is breached, they die.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because they're dust.
Yep.
Yeah, because that bloody Araman curse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Power of Tzeentch. It's very much a case of, haha, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. You know, have you seen that picture of Tzeentch? He's basically smiling from his crotch. Yeah, you're welcome. I kind of want to see either have them restored. That'd be kind of cool. You know, they brought back Magnus, they brought back Mortarion, they brought back Guilliman. I would assume at some point, because they had Cypher feature in the whole restoring Guilliman thing, that I'm kind of hoping they bring back the Lion, because honestly, the Lion is pretty fucking cool.
The Lion's still in the rock.
He is asleep, and I would just love for him to come back. I think it'd be awesome, because Luther's in there as well.
Really cranky.
Luther's in there. I think he gets put in stasis and shit. Everyone keeps trying to make him apologize or repent, and he doesn't. He says the Lion will forgive him. I think
for his first captain that created the
yeah. Well, no. Okay.
Renegades.
Yeah,
guy?
No. Luther is the one that did that. But there's more to it than that, because there were two boys mentioned in the very first Lion. Descent of Angels, is it? One of them, Remiel, I think, became a chaplain. Zahariel became a librarian. Zahariel had to stay back on Caliban because of an attempt to kill the Lion, which Luther and Zahariel stopped, but they hesitated, and I think the Lion knew. Well, okay, Russ possibly, but maybe Korax, because he also just vanished like that. Or Vulcan, because he has already popped up already.
Well, the thing is, they've written it a lot for the convenience of a lot of it's grey. You can write whatever is convenient at the time.
Yeah.
Which is a very useful writing style.
Yeah.
It's, again, not to try and keep harping on about Game of Thrones, but I know people have said, all the characters that were cut in the TV show, they mustn't be important.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's George R. R. Martin interview where he goes, I wouldn't have put them in if they weren't important.
Mm-hmm.
So, presumably, somebody who'd written the background for the overall plot has told all the main writers where they want it to go.
Yeah.
And you don't include the Lost and the Damned if you don't have a plan for them. But I know people have said ages ago that, that was just things you could make your own chapters. But because of how the canon's progressed, they've got to have something more than that.
Yeah, with the introduction of the Primaris Space Marines, a lot of the legions that were kind of diminished in size, like the Crimson Fists, are, back again, I guess. So they've had to either introduce new wars attacking their homeworlds to make it seem like they're out of action,
That's lazy writing.
So this is why I love canon so much, because there's so much to talk about. This is why I see the whole subject of...
4 years, and I'm still not too out of touch, apparently.
It to me, this constant need to introduce gender, sexuality, it is...
These things, they say be a big deal, and they make everything about it. So it's like,
When it comes down to the individual personal choice, it doesn't really matter. You can't influence them to give a shit about the gender if they want something big with big guns, or a nice shiny sword that you painted non-metallic, or...
non-metallic metals were such a massive thing. It's like, you know what? My army looks good on a table. That's fine with me.
I did the non-metallic for a little bit, and I was like, fuck off. This is actually boring.
My 3D printed Mordian Iron Guard.
My favourite Imperial Guard. I never had a miniature. I wanted
the fuck is armour, basically.
Them and the Praetorian. The Mordian, their planet.
The Praetorians, who are basically just the
British Legion. Yeah.
Down the hats.
Yeah. But with the Mordian Iron Guard...
officers have got the goose feather hats and everything.
Oh, yes. But with the Mordians, half the planet in light, half in dark, so they lived on the dark side. That's just... And the fact that their planet is...
Fucking
It's brilliant. Yeah, I know, right? Can't you just live in the sun? Oh my god, get a tan.
Isn't it that thing of if you live in the sun, though, they just burn to death?
Obviously, yes. But I think that's why I liked them. I just like the armour as well, the lack of armour. I think 1 or 2 miniatures had it.
And like the officers.
Yeah, that was it.
Or like that's the thing, because they've just gone right. We want to make different army styles. What have we got? Okay, we've got the Acadians, who are your generic post World War II squaddies.
Yeah.
You've got your Kasrkins, who are your Marine Corps and your Spetsnaz types. Sometimes a mixture of the two. You've got your Def Corps Krieg, who are just, we wanted to make the Wehrmacht.
Okay, if a regiment or chapter was created that were all black women, that would be sexist tokenism. We just call them the salamanders. I know you mentioned female, but seriously, salamanders. They got all the melanin. Even Korax gave his up because he didn't need it. He was in the dark and he could be invisible anyway. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember it's because I know it's a thing where when they're initiates, they look like everyone else, but when they graduate, for want of a better word, that is when they basically change colour.
Yeah.
From what I remember.
Yeah.
Which I'm not entirely versed on. I've never really been a specialist on Space Marines.
Yeah, but, 2 things in the chat. Tempestus Scions, I would love to buy some of those because they look amazing. And Kasrkins are dead law. Annoyingly, Kasrkins were amazing.
Yeah, shot las guns.
There were only 1 miniature, other than Colonel Schaefer of the Last Chances, I quite like the miniature for Osaka Creed. Or, what's his name? Lord Solar Masharius. Who?
I thought you were going to say Sly Marbo.
I was about to. But with Solar Masharius, after the Crusade and after he died, he had clones made of him. And interestingly, 2 of them, a male and a female, feature in the Last Chances books. Yes, a female clone of Lord Solar Masharius. They followed in fact, the only reason they end up at the Penal Legion was because one refused to leave the other behind. And then the other punched the officer, I believe. And both got sent to a Penal Legion. Yeah. Good story. See, this is why, again, I'll touch on it briefly because I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to go because I want to record for tomorrow. And it's getting late. Shit.
You're coming up for the 1.5 hour mark, so...
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, with the Facebook groups, I've linked one below. I think it's Feminist 40k. And to me, I've looked through some of their stuff, and I'm like, oh no, I do want to touch on one little thing, the Peta thing. I even had the image for the article and the thumbnail I did, right? I swear, I'm now in hindsight think it was a troll for publicity. There, said it. Okay. Plastic fur, honestly. But introducing gender and sexuality and diversity, when not, even though you yourself are a fan, Vostroyans are amazing, and especially the mustaches. The Valhalla guys, probably my second favorite. But introducing these things in a universe that is it's just war, and then trying to nix canon, all the while trying to create canon. Do they not see what they're trying to do there? Is the joke lost on them or something? Are you there, Skog?
Yeah, I'm just listening going, it's just dumb.
Honestly. To me, it's beyond stupid. And the fact that people... Go on.
So you thought they'd have taken and run with the fact that you've got the communist space cows who are already, right for the... Thing is, the communist space cows are one of the few armies that can have innovation without it being off canon.
Communist space cows.
Yeah, that's what they are.
They are.
They have hooves and they're communists.
Except
they're communists that work because they have like an actual fanatical devotion to the greater good.
I actually love the Tau because they had to adopt other races into its other species into its existence because they can't do melee. It's brilliant.
Well, that's the thing. They had the option of killing off the crew, and they went, you know what? Instead of, murdering these guys, we could just take them with us.
They actually,
we've got to tow their spaceships.
You know what?
But,
You know what that actually shows you? It shows you a fantastic inclusivity and diversity in other races. Surely, these uppity little fucks who want to destroy a hobby that's being destroyed because no one can afford any of the miniatures these days. It is just ridiculous and pointless. I love Games Workshop. I want to start painting again. I want to get my hands on either that Nurgle miniature or some Custodians. But I'll see. Because I've got some overtime this week. I've done some this week. Some kind of... We'll see,
My choice is pizza or buying some models, and I'd rather eat pizza.
Yeah.
By some models, I mean like maybe 5 now.
A 5-pack of Custodians would be cool. Or that one Nurgle champion. Or a 5-pack of the Militarium Tempestus Scion. They're tanks, by the way. Square trucks. Tracks on, They've got like wheels. They look great.
Oh, the Tarot. Not the Tarox. I know what you mean.
You know what I mean.
Again, that's another one of those things where Games Workshop, I only slightly preempted them. And I went, you know what the Guard don't have? They don't have a light, fast troop transport. Like they got the Chimera, but that's a heavy tank.
Yeah.
It's not a heavy tank. It's not a fucking Baneblade, but it's a heavy vehicle.
Absolutely.
What if they've got light vehicles they want to use for just mobbing about?
Yeah.
So okay, I'm going to make a troop transport based off of a up-armored combination of the if you've been in London, you'll have seen the yellow ducks they've got on the Thames. The amphibious trucks.
Fair enough.
UKWs is their code for them, basically.
Okay. Simius of Thebes, if you finish your nights and you're on Twitter, tag me a picture of them. I'd love to see your work. That really applies to anyone because I quite like Games Workshop. I like painting.
So based off of that and the latest Russian, just troop transporters.
Yeah.
I think so much of America's stuff is now, at least the stuff you see or hear about, is either Hummers or or aircraft systems. So I thought, I have a land vehicle. So I'd got a couple of them made up, and then Games Workshop came out with the I think is the Tarox, that 4-tracked ugly box thing that looks a bit like
it reminded me.
Hawk decided not to actually modify it and just leave it as it was because it wasn't gonna get better.
It wouldn't look too out of place in an Empire army. Something just feels right about it.
A bit like a steam tank.
Okay, Mr. Mortal, back on to the point of the stream. Apparently, thank you for that. What about the Ynnari? Actually, thanks, Mike. You're quite right, actually. And I would love to talk about that more sometime. But I'm going to have to end this stream rather abruptly because I need to finish a project. Did you want to shield yourself before we left?
I guess so. I'm currently working on a series of videos on communist food, some of which may be serious.
You may have seen Skog in my last video doing a 1.5-minute sandwich video of him doing commie stuff. I've linked his channel below. Please go subscribe to him. How well do you paint if you like to paint? I have 2 gold demons. There you go. And with that, I'm going to end. So, good night, everyone.
Good night.